Okay, guys, I'm here for the start of something very special. I'm here for the start of what I am calling WCWtober. Because since we're in the month of October, and since it's time to get in the Halloween mood, so to speak, and everyone's in that mood, I figured I would do a special month of videos related to Halloween-related stuff. But I'm going to do two separate kind of videos. There's this series, which will go for the first half of the month, which is WCWtober, which I look at all the Halloween Havocs from 1989 to 2000. I think it is 12 of them. And the second half of the month, I will be reviewing something random, some Halloween-related thing that's not necessarily a horror movie, because I don't really watch horror movies. I have nothing against them, I just myself don't watch them, but there's plenty of other Halloween-related stuff I can find and review, and that'll be the second half of the month, which I will call, let's say, the 15 not-so scares of Halloween, as a working title. So, since this is the very first start of my first series, this is the start of WCWtober. And I'm starting off WCWtober with the very first WCW Halloween Havoc. WCW Halloween Havoc 1989. Now, this was when NWA had been purchased. Jim Clark Promotion had been purchased by Ted Turner. WCW had came along. They were still promoting themselves as the NWA, but they were really WCW. They didn't start having stuff under the WCW banner, I think, until 1990, though. But this is the very first ever Halloween Havoc, which took place on October the 28th, 1989. That's another reason I chose to do these, because Halloween Havoc almost always took place either after Halloween or right before Halloween. So that's another reason I chose to go with this theme for part of the month of October. Like I said, it took place October 28, 1989, from the Philadelphia Civic Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I didn't bother to look up the attendance, so I don't normally care about attendance figures. That's why they're never in the videos. So there are 8 matches on this show, so we have a maximum star rating of 40. So, how good is this show? Well, for 1989 standards, it's not that bad, actually, for 1989 standards. This is a show that, if it aired today, would probably get a very good rating if it was on today. But wrestling in 1989 was different. And in case people are wondering, I was 6 years old when this Halloween Havoc started, so this is not a series from before I was born, like some people thought the Starrcade review series was. Even though I was born for the first Starrcade, because that was in November of 83 and one in September of 83. But that's off subject. So, the first match is the Z-Man Tom Zink versus Captain Mike Rotunda. This is a 2-star match. It's an okay match. Again, by today's standards, you know, this would be this is the kind of a match that I wish existed in today's standards, because it's when wrestling companies had forward thinking enough to try to build a star off a long winning streak and not randomly break it for some dumb reason. Kind of like how the WWE messed up Bo Dallas. But anyway, Mike Rotunda does all the traditional heel stuff. He uses the ropes for submissions to gain extra leverage, and he stalls and stuff. So it can make this match kind of boring if you're used to fast-paced matches, since that's what happens in the WWE today most of the time. It can be far too fast-paced. So it can be kind of boring, which some of these matches on the show can be. But again, wrestling in the 80s was like that. It's just something, yeah, you didn't have a lot of fast-paced matches in the 1980s to early 90s. Finish comes when Mike Rotunda hits a crossbody block that the Z-Man reverses and rolls into, and that gets the pin. Like I said, it's a 2-star match. Right guy won because Tomlin had been on this winning streak, and they gave him a very long win streak. I think until the Great American Bash in 1990 when he lost to Vader. I could be wrong on that though. It was either Great American Bash 90 or 91, one of whichever pay-per-view, you know. I could be wrong on whatever pay-per-view he fought Vader. I know it was a Great American Bash, so it was either 90 or 91. But like I said, 2 stars. So the next match is a 6-man tag match. The Midnight Express and Steve Williams versus the Samoan SWAT team and the Samoan Savage. The Samoan SWAT team were the head shrinkers. Or at least I know one of them was a head shrinker, one of them was fought to were Rikishi. I don't know if the other one, whose name is Samu here, I don't know if that was actually the Samu of the head shrinkers in the WWE. I just know that Fatu was Rikishi, and it's the same guy that was Rikishi in the WWE. That's the only one I know. And I believe the Samoan Savage is a Tongan kid, but I could be wrong on that. This is a 2-star 6-man tag. It's not a bad 6-man tag. There is some stuff going back to the War Games between the Samoan SWAT team and these guys, because all these guys, my Samoan Savage, were in the War Games, the Great American Bash. So there's some continuity there, in terms of that. This is a 2-star tag match. It's okay. Again, today's standards, this match would be very, very good to have in today's standards. But again, it's slow pace and stuff like that, you know. But it's a 2-star match, you know. And the Samoan SWAT team, the Samoan Savage, won when Stan Lane gets bumped into Jim Cornette, who's on the apron. 2 stars. So then we get Wildfire Tommy Rich versus the Cuban Assassin. This is a 1.5-star match. It's statistically the worst match on the show. Which is saying something, because I don't really think this show is all that bad. But this is the worst match on the show. Tommy Rich wins with the Lufez press. Before it started having punches attached to it like Steve Austin did. Just a normal Lufez pin press, what Lufez did. Austin added the punches when he started using it in the WWE. As far as I know, anyway. I could be wrong. Well, I guess at 1.5 stars. So then we get the WCW World Tag Team Championship match. As it's the Fabulous Freebirds versus the Dynamic Dudes. Oh, the Dynamic Dudes. What a gimmick that was. That was a gimmick that is so dated. The Dynamic Dudes were the skateboarding gimmick that was done by Shane Douglas. And John Laurinaitis, otherwise known as Mr. People Power. And they're managed here by Jim Cornette, who's advising them. This is a 3-star match. It's not a bad tag match. It's a traditional tag match. You know, and they book it to where the Dynamic Dudes look like they're going to win, and the Freebirds have to resort to cheating, which is what happens, because the Dynamic Dudes are going for their wipeout finisher, and Michael Hayes grabs John Laurinaitis' foot, and then Jimmy Garvin pins Shane Douglas. You know, that's the only thing about Shane Douglas. For a guy named The Franchise, he sure had a lot of failed gimmicks. His biggest success came in ECW. That's how he got the name The Franchise, because he basically built the ECW brand when he won the world title down there, and made that promo that he's most famous for cutting in ECW. That's where The Franchise came from, because almost every other gimmick he had, other than that one in ECW, was a massive failure. Or just not necessarily a failure, but didn't work to its potential that it could have worked due to some weird stuff. But 3 stars. So then we get the Steiner brothers versus Doom. Doom is, of course, Ron Simmons and Butch Reed, but they're under masks here, and they're managed by a woman. Again, traditional tag match. with the style, but it's also a traditional power match that's also a wrestling. You got a power team in Doom and a traditional wrestling team in the Steiners, so you got differing styles. It works. The match is 2.5 stars. It's an average. It's a formulaic tag match. Eventually, the referee doesn't see woman load one of Doom's masks with something, and then that Doom hits Rick Steiner with a headbutt, and that gets the win for Doom, a pinfall victory over the Steiners. Now, Halloween Havoc made Doom look strong. Starrcade 89 did not. And for a team that WCW gave the World Tag Team Championships for, I think for nearly a year, after Starrcade 89, it didn't look like that since they were defeated in all 3 matches of Starrcade 89. But 2.5 stars. So then we get what is the match of this show, as it's the WCW United States Championship match. Lex Luger versus Flyin Brian. Oh, yes. Now, this is a good match. See, Lex Luger, I sometimes think, gets a bad rep. Luger could actually give a good match. He'd actually work a good match if he had the right person to work with. It's just sometimes he didn't have the right person to work with. A la the WWE a lot. Yeah, the person who in the WWE who always got the best out of Luger was Yokozuna. Okay, if they would have done a Bret Hart Lex Luger match WrestleMania 10, Bret Hart could have got something out of Luger, but that's the problem with Luger. He could give a good match and put on a good match if he had the right opponent, the right dance partner, so to speak. So I think Luger doesn't get the credit he deserves sometimes. I mean, he wasn't bad in the department of ring work. He just needed the right opponent. Brian Pillman's the right opponent here because you also get that power versus speed kind of dynamic, which can tell a really good story. And that's what this does. Really, this is booked to where if Brian Pillman had hit one move in the center of the ring, he would have beat Luger. That's his flying clothesline. Luger got near the ropes, and that's how he won. He shrugged off a missile drop kick, and then he eventually won by pinfall. I think he power slammed Pillman or something like that. I don't really remember. I know it was not by the torture rack, it was by a pinfall. So I don't really remember exactly what he used, but it's a 4.5 star match. It was bordering on 5, really. But it's a 4.5 star match. I don't think it's as good as the match that Luger had with Ricky Steamboat, but I think it's still a really solid match. 4.5 stars. So then we get the Road Warriors versus the Skyscrapers in a match billed to where the Road Warriors are the underdogs. Yes, the Road Warriors, the biggest no-selling team in existence, are billed as the underdogs when they're facing the Skyscrapers. Dan Spivey and Sid Vicious, who at this point had never been pinned in a match, and the story was, can the Road Warriors be the first team to defeat the Skyscrapers by pinfall? And I gotta say, this is not a bad tag match. It's a 2-star match, and the Road Warriors actually sell more in this match than I think they've ever done in their career. There's quite good selling by them here. And on the other side, the Skyscrapers don't do a lot of selling. This is 2 teams where their characters are not what you would call selling things. They should be selling move after move after move after move. That's what these 2 teams are. These are just 2 power people, 2 power guys. Because even Sid Vicious never did a lot of selling. But eventually the finish comes to Teddy Long takes this key. He cracks Paul Ellering. And that eventually draws the DQ because I think the Skyscrapers used it. So the Road Warriors get the win, but they don't pin the Skyscrapers. The Skyscrapers were supposed to be in that Starrcade 8 1989 tournament, but Sid Vicious, I believe, got injured, so they were replaced by the Samoan SWAT team. So that's just the way things go. Like I said, 2 stars. So then we get to the match that this whole event was built around. The Tag Team Thunderdome Cage Match. Now this is a very interesting concept. Okay, you take a cage and you put electrical wiring over it, on top of it, to make sure that no one escapes it. It's not like the entire cage is electrified, just the top of it to make sure no one escapes it. And the special referee for this match is Bruno Sammartino. How many people actually know Bruno Sammartino showed up in anything in WCW? Well, he did. He showed up here to be the special referee, which essentially only meant he was looking for who would throw the towel in, because that's the only way to win this match. There's no pinfalls or anything in this match. It's Ric Flair and Sting versus Terry Funk and the Great Muta. This all stems from the Great American Bash of 1989 and the finish of the Great American Bash of 1989, where these 4 guys got into a fight. Now, the only way to win this match is one of the Terminators, and no, I don't mean Arnold Schwarzenegger, I mean Gary Hart or Ole Anderson. They're called the Terminators because their main job will be stopping this match by throwing a towel in. And that will signify who wins the match. Then this is a not so bad tag match. It starts as a traditional tag match, but then since there are no rules in it anyway, it gets turned into a tornado tag match, which makes far more sense as there are no rules in this anyway. Why enforce traditional tags when there are no rules in this match essentially anyway? It makes more sense for it to be tornado. And for some reason, everyone starts climbing this cage for some reason. Muta goes up there a couple times, gets shocked. Terry Funk and Ric Flair eventually climb up there. Terry Funk and Sting climb up there, and Sting eventually gets his knee caught. And then Ole Anderson's trying to free Sting while Muta and Funk are beating up on Flair. Eventually, Flair's got the figure 4 on Funk, and Sting and just keeps jumping on Terry Funk, and Gary Hart refuses to throw the towel in. Now, eventually, there's this fight between where Muta decks Bruno Sammartino, who decks Muta, and then Ole Anderson gets into a fight with Gary Hart. A towel goes flying, which is assumed to be Gary Hart's towel because Ole Anderson's in his hand. That gives Sting and Flair the victory. Nothing came out of this finish because Flair and Sting go to the Starrcade 1989 round robin tournament, as does Muta. Terry Funk is on commentary for the singles portion of that for the singles matches of that pay-per-view with all that. So while they did a finish that made it clearly that you could say they were setting something up, they eventually dropped it. Which is why it's probably doesn't get a 4-star rating, because honestly the finish of this match could have been better if it would have went somewhere, if it would have went somewhere, which it really didn't, other than to lead to the Sting and Flair match, where Sting won the WCW Championship for the first time at the Great American Bash in 1990, because this essentially started that whole month that Sting was in the 4 Horsemen. It was building up to that after Starrcade 89. That's essentially what this whole thing really came of. So out of 40 stars, this gets 20.5, which actually gets it a C- rating. Which, for a show for air today, would probably be a B. Yeah, this show, if I got this kind of a show today, even with the 1.5 star match, I'd be quite satisfied with it. It's a C. It's a solid C. WCW was on the right track for Halloween Havoc. So how would the follow-up be in 1990? Well, that's for the second episode of WCWtober, which I'm going to try to have uploaded tomorrow, but if not uploaded tomorrow, I will upload it Saturday along with my Power Ranger Dino Charge episode 13 review. So, I'm going to make a playlist called WCWtober, and if you like the video, like button is down there, subscribe button is down there. This will be in the WCWtober playlist, so thank you for watching. Bye.